Hello and welcome to WMT Reviews 12 Nights of Halloween. I am Wiseman Tanofsky. If you could wish for anything, what would it be? Fame, fortune, revenge, sex, all of the above perhaps? It's all too easy to fall into the trap of wishing for things to just work out for you, taking the easy way around rather than working towards your own ends. But imagine if you could. Imagine if you were approached by someone who said they could grant you any wish. What would you wish for? Now imagine that your fame comes in the form of being locked away in prison for the rest of your life after a high-publicity court case. Imagine your fortune comes from the death of a loved one. Imagine your revenge killed a person and the guilt drove you mad. Imagine your body was crushed under the weight of a mound of bodies all trying to have their way with you at the same time. And then imagine that after all of that, you're forced to spend an eternity in agony. How's your wish looking now? With the human race increasingly wishing their lives away, I suppose it was inevitable that a horror movie would find its way onto the market to counter that way of thinking. And no surprise, it sprung from the mind of Wes Craven, the man behind A Nightmare on Elm Street. And it did so in the form of Wishmaster, a charming and exciting horror flick with an A-grade cast, a timeless moral lesson to teach, and some stunning practical effects. It was the movie that warned viewers everywhere, "Careful what you wish for," and remains to this day to be one of my favourite movies of the genre. So let's take another look at this at the halfway mark of this year's 12 Nights of Halloween. This is Wes Craven's Wishmaster. So, what's the story this time? Raymond Beaumont, played by Elm Street star Robert Englund, is a collector of all things mythological, and adds to his collection a one-of-a-kind statue of Ahura Mazda. However, a drunk crane operator drops the crate and a fire opal is stolen from the wreckage. While attempting to appraise the stone, Alexandra Amberson, played by Tammy Lauren, accidentally awakens the spirit of a djinn, an ancient genie played by Andrew Divoff, who seeks to release his kind upon the earth by the granting of 3 wishes to the one that woke him. In the meantime, the djinn grants wishes to any who cross his path, twisting their meaning at every turn and killing people by means of their own wishes. Among his victims are a security guard played by iconic Jason Voorhees actor Kane Hodder, and a bouncer played by the Candyman star Tony Todd. Eventually, the djinn corners Alexandra and forces her to make her wishes, first revealing his true nature and his hellish world of torment, second releasing her from that world, and finally, during a massacre at Beaumont's house party, she wishes that the crane operator had not been drinking on the job 2 days earlier, rewriting the timeline and imprisoning the djinn back within the fire opal. I absolutely love Wishmaster. I think it's a fantastically satirical look at the materialism of the modern world. People are so quick to wish for what they want rather than working towards it. And this film acts as a great visualization of the consequences of doing this. There is literally no wish that you can make that the djinn can't turn back on itself and kill you with, or at least leave you in a state where life is no longer worth living. It teaches viewers to appreciate the life that they have rather than wishing it away on what they do not. I also adore the fact that this film contains some of the most iconic actors of the slasher genre. Freddy Krueger's Robert Englund, Jason Voorhees' Kane Hodder, the Candyman's Tony Todd, and even the introductory monologue is delivered by Phantasm star Angus Scrimm, the ominous tall man. It's like a mashup of the best acting talent in the genre, and it just makes me squeal like a little fanboy. So let's have a look at the Wishmaster himself, played by Andrew Divoff. This guy was born to play this role. Both in the djinn makeup and his Nathaniel Demarest disguise, Divoff delivers a fantastically threatening performance. From his low growling tone to his calm and inviting pitches to each of his clients, he knows exactly how to manipulate humanity, and he does it to great effect, managing to car salesman his way to a new soul with almost every encounter. The makeup on the djinn is fantastic. I love the Palpatine-esque hood that he hides under for the first act of the film. Every detail just serves to make him appear more frightening. From those hideous yellow eyes to those sharpened teeth, he's a truly marvellous looking monster. To be honest, this film is held up almost entirely by how greatly Divoff plays the djinn. He seems to live and breathe the character, and he just oozes with the fun he's clearly having with every scene, creating a delightfully devilish villain. For a slasher flick, the rest of the cast is pretty passable too. Tammy Lauren plays the disturbed Amberson character very well, particularly in scenes where she talks about the death of her parents. You can see the guilt she clearly carries with her, and it's utilised to great effect. Englund delivers another fantastic performance as the creepy rich old collector Beaumont too. Everything I see him in, I just see Freddy though. He just plays that kind of character so well. The folklore professor, Wendy, was portrayed well too. With characters like that, it's very easy for the delivery to feel very forced, the way they list off details about some ancient creature that they just happen to know everything about. It makes it feel like they're reading it straight out of a textbook. But Jenny O'Hara does well to be the exposition fairy here, getting the information across to the audience but delivering it with a flair of excitement. The deaths in this movie are some of the most creative and well executed I've seen in a slasher film for a very long time. Listening to each wish, you can almost imagine what the djinn is going to do to someone, and it's only more satisfying when that's exactly what happens. When the homeless man wishes cancer and death on a pharmacy owner, the results are hideous and disturbing, fantastically executed with a mixture of makeup and physical performance. Digital effects were used to great effect in deaths such as the security guard Hodder plays, when he wishes he could see Nathaniel get through him. So the djinn traps him within the glass door and passes clean through him, shattering him on the way. And of course there's that great scene in Beaumont's mansion, where all his collectibles begin to come to life and attack his guests. Fantastic work on those statues' costumes, they looked amazing. I don't even know if they were ever statues at any point, or if the actors just stood really still. For a movie dealing with such dark content, there's a good amount of humour in the film too to break up the tension, and a lot of it comes from Divoff's delivery of his character. One of my favourite moments remains to be when Alexandra tells him to kill himself and he obediently blows his head off, before it grows back and he says, "That which is eternal cannot die, but if it's any consolation to you, sweet Alex, that hurt like hell." Cracks me up every time. And it's a performance he would continue to give in the film's sequel too. Swapping him out for the third and fourth films would prove to be a fatal mistake, but here Divoff really does steal the show. One point where I understand the film seems to lose a lot of people is the gore factor. There is a hell of a lot of it in this movie. Skeletons crawling out of flesh, people's faces being impaled, and general torture depictions here, there and everywhere. The torture scenes within the djinn's homely fire opal are a little unnerving, and yeah, the gore effects can go a bit over the top at times, but I don't think it reaches uncomfortable levels like Saw and the Hostel franchise. It's not exactly skin-crawlingly gory, and a lot of the time you can tell it's makeup and special effects and you can just appreciate how realistic it looks, but I still think it all works really well, and it doesn't detract from the film that much in my opinion. One of my only problems with the film is the fact that a character does not always have to say the words "I wish" for the djinn to translate it directly as a wish and grant it. It feels a lot like it detracts from the importance of the phrase "I wish," because a wish can be granted when someone just says, "I really want this," or "I'd love to see this." That's really the only problem I have with it. It's just, it should be that he has to make them say "I wish" every time, or he shouldn't be able to grant the wish, because that's his one limitation. He can't use his powers unless it's in the granting of a wish. So it should be that he does have to manage to get them to say "I wish" before he can do anything. But it's only a minor complaint. Sometimes I really don't understand the world, and it just takes a wander around the review section on IMDb for this movie for that's become blatantly obvious. A lot of people hate this film, and even reading through their explanations as to why, I still don't get it. Wishmaster is a great little film in my opinion. It openly mocks the selfish nature of humanity and serves as a cautionary tale to all who wish their lives away, as one day their lives may be the one thing that get taken away. I do feel like the second half of the franchise really does reflect badly on the original. After Divoff was swapped out for another actor, the djinn lost all of its character and its credibility as a serious psychological threat. But all I have to do to fix that is return once more to the original, and I barely even remember the titles of the third and fourth films. Wishmaster is and will always remain to be one of my favourite cheesy horror films. It has a great cast, some decent lessons to teach, it's a spectacular return to theatrical gore, and has a monster whose voice will haunt your nightmares for weeks. I can watch this film over and over and never get bored of it, and really, isn't that what a good film is all about? Sure, the acting can be a little B-movie at times, and the gore can be a little excessive and unnecessary, but like I said, there are films out there which overstay their welcome on the gore front a lot worse than this film does. And for that, I'm going to award the film a strong 8 on the Orsometer. It's a fun little splatterfest with some of the most creative death scenes you're likely to see in a movie of any genre. So if you haven't seen it already, it's definitely worth checking out. So that's an 8 on the Orsometer for Wes Craven's Wishmaster. I've been Wiseman Tanofsky, this has been WMT Reviews 12 Nights of Halloween. We're halfway there, I'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you very much for listening.